Have you ever met someone like this? They study less than 40 minutes a day. They sleep 7 to 8 hours every night. They still hang out with friends. They still have hobbies. Yet somehow they're always in the top 5% of the class. And then there's you. You sit at your desk for 4 hours, sometimes six. You sacrifice sleep. You highlight your textbook in 5 different colors. You rewrite your notes neatly. You rewatch lectures. You do practice tests, and yet your grades barely move. So what's the difference? It's not intelligence. It's not discipline. It's not luck. It's strategy. And today I want to show you something that completely changed how I study and why it took me from average scores to consistent 9s and 10s. But before we go deeper, pause for a second. If you had to rate your current study method from 1 to 10, what number would you give it? Keep that number in your head. By the end of this video, I promise you'll want to rate it again. The night everything changed. I'll never forget this one night in 11th grade. It was 3:07 a.m. My desk was covered with empty soda cans and coffee cups. My biology notebook was packed with notes. Every page was highlighted in blue, pink, yellow, green. It looked productive. It looked serious. I had studied for 12 hours straight. And yet, deep down, I knew something felt wrong. I wasn't thinking. I wasn't connecting ideas. I was just consuming, reading, highlighting, underlining, rereading again. I walked into that exam confident. I walked out confused. And when the results came back, it wasn't good, not terrible, but not worth 12 hours of sacrifice. That was the moment I realized something painful. I didn't know how to study. The productivity illusion. Here's the trap most students fall into. We confuse time spent with progress made. If you sit at your desk for 4 hours, you feel productive. If your notes look aesthetic, you feel organized. If you've highlighted half the textbook, you feel prepared. But feeling productive is not the same as making progress. Psychologists call this the illusion of competence. When you reread material, your brain recognizes the words. Recognition feels like understanding. Understanding feels like mastery. But recognition is shallow. It's like watching someone swim and thinking you've learned how to swim until you jump into the water and then you sink. Passive study versus active study. Most students study passively. They reread chapters, highlight everything, rewrite notes, watch explanation videos, scroll study tips on TikTok. It feels busy, it feels intense, it feels disciplined. But passive studying is like pouring water into a basket. You can pour for hours, but nothing stays. Active studying is different. Active studying forces your brain to struggle, and struggle is what creates memory. The formula that changed everything I started thinking about studying differently. Instead of asking, how many hours did I study? I started asking, how much did I actually remember? Here's the formula I realized. Knowledge gained equals time. Spent times retention rate. Let's say you study 5 hours, but you only retain 10%. That's 30 minutes of real learning. Now imagine you study 1 hour, but retain 60%. That's 36 minutes of real learning. You studied 5 times less, but learned more. That's when everything clicked. The goal isn't to increase study time, it's to increase retention. Why studying longer makes it worse? When you study for hours without breaks, your brain goes into autopilot. You stop questioning. You stop connecting ideas. You stop testing yourself. You just absorb. But the brain doesn't work like a photocopy machine. It works more like a muscle. If you don't challenge it, it doesn't grow. In fact, long passive sessions create false confidence. You think, I've seen this before. I recognize this. I understand this. But on the exam, you can't retrieve it, because retrieval is a different skill than recognition. The shift to active learning. After that bad exam, I changed everything. Not overnight, but intentionally. Instead of rereading theory, I started doing practice questions immediately. Instead of studying alone in silence, I explained concepts out loud, and even if no one was there. Instead of rewriting notes beautifully, I asked myself, If the exam were right now, what could I explain without looking? At first, it felt uncomfortable, harder, messier. But my retention rate jumped from maybe 10 to 20% to 60 to 70%. And something unexpected happened. I started studying less, but scoring higher. The 6-step study framework. Here's exactly what I do now. 1. Study in 30 to 60-minute blocks, never 4 hours straight. Your brain needs recovery to consolidate information. Study 45 minutes. Rest 5 to 10 minutes. Repeat. Quality beats duration. 2. Test before you study. Before opening the chapter, ask, what do I already know? What do I not understand? This activates prior knowledge and makes new information stick faster. 3. Teach what you learn. This is powerful. If you can explain a concept simply, without notes, you understand it. If you can't, you don't. Pretend you're teaching a 10-year-old. Talk out loud. Record yourself. Use a whiteboard. Teaching exposes gaps instantly. 4. Practice greater than reading. If your exam is problem-based, solve problems. If it's essay-based, write practice essays. If it's definition-based, use flashcards. Match your training to the test. Don't train for a marathon by watching running videos. Run. 5. Connect concepts to reality. The brain remembers stories better than isolated facts. If you study economics, connect it to real market prices. If you study biology, relate it to daily health habits. If you study history, link it to modern politics, meaning increases memory. 6. Quick review. Before sleep. 5 to 10 minutes. No heavy studying, just quick recall. Sleep strengthens memory consolidation. It's like your brain organizes the files overnight. Why this works? Because learning isn't about input, it's about output. Most students optimize input. More pages, more videos, more hours. Top students optimize output. More recall, more testing, more explanation. And output feels harder. That's why most people avoid it. But difficulty is not a sign of failure. It's a sign of growth. Re-rate yourself. Remember the number you gave your study method at the beginning? What would you rate it now? Be honest. If it dropped, good. Awareness is step 1. If it stayed high, ask yourself why. Is it truly effective? Or just comfortable? Final truth. You don't need more discipline. You don't need to wake up at 4 a.m. You don't need to cut sleep or quit your social life. You need a better system. Studying smarter is not about doing less effort. It's about directing effort correctly. When you increase retention, you decrease wasted time. When you study actively, you build real understanding. And when you understand deeply, confidence stops being fake. It becomes automatic. If this video shifted your perspective even a little, try applying just one of these changes this week. Not all 6, just one. Then observe the difference. Because the real flex isn't studying 8 hours a day. The real flex is finishing your work in 90 minutes, closing your laptop, and knowing you actually learned something. See you in the next video.